thought I'd try recording a video from the garden. It's a little bit not very comfortable because I have to hold my phone up high, but maybe I can make a short video and just share some thoughts I'm having. I'm actually going to flip the camera so I can show you my view. There's a creek behind that fence there, and that wonderful, beautiful greenery is actually Japanese knotweed, which is very invasive, and we have to work very hard to contain it. But when I'm sitting here like this, it's actually quite pretty. The sunshine going through it is really just lovely. And that set of two trees in the center of the frame right now are our pear trees. Oh, I might get eaten by mosquitoes here, even though I got bug spray on. Go away. Sorry about that. Sorry. Okay. So that's the pear tree. Isn't that gorgeous? Two of them actually. And back there is the other half of my garden, where you see that white netting. Now I'm going to zoom out so you can see what's right in front of me, which is the other side of my garden. I called this the old garden bed because it was here when we moved in. So that's my view. Just, I wanted to show you what I see when I'm here. So I wanted to talk about the idea of aloneness and loneliness, and it's a huge topic that I won't really be able to get into with very much depth, but I thought I'd at least start. So, bugs, pretty bugs, lots of them. So I'm alone in my garden right now. I'm alone in the backyard. But I don't feel alone. And certainly not when I'm talking to a camera that I know will be viewed by people, and there is that imagined togetherness for me right now that I know some of you will watch this, and so in the future I'm not alone. But I also don't feel alone even when I'm not talking to the camera, when I'm in the garden, because I feel such a connection to the plants. I talk to them. I didn't name them, but I'm constantly saying how much I love them, and I'm talking to them as I treat them or work with them in whatever way. So, but aloneness is a really big area I talk about in analysis a lot with my clients, and I talked in my own analysis. There are so many ways that people can feel alone, and I don't even know where to start. You know, it goes, for a lot of people, it goes back to the ways that they felt alone as a child or even a baby. There are many ways to feel emotionally alone, sometimes even when you have helicopter parents, and when the parents are really on you for something, or constantly checking on you, or constantly asking you questions, you might still feel alone, because even though somebody's there and somebody's interested, they may still be missing some aspect of you, or not getting some aspect of you, or lots of aspects of you. They might praise you for being smart, but really miss the fact that you're really creative, or that you're really sensitive, or that you're sad, or that you're whatever, right? There's so many things that you might feel that even though your parents are aware of you and tracking you and whatnot, you may still feel missed, right? They missed something. They are missing something about you. So that's one way. There, if you're left in a crib by yourself for too long, you also feel alone. But that's a pre-verbal aloneness that you can't even name. And maybe later in life, you're afraid to be alone in the room. You're afraid, you're afraid to be alone without a partner. So you get together with anybody, or you get together with somebody the day you break up with, or any of the week you break up with someone else. Or you start seeing a person on the side while you are married because you feel alone in your marriage and you're too afraid to be alone. So there's so many ways that the childhood aloneness then shows up in adulthood, that you start to expect to be alone. You expect that there's no one there to help you, and you fear it potentially, or you rage against it, or it's what you see in the world. But either way, or whatever way, that is the theme. And then I don't know if it's worth it to try to list some of the ways that people can feel alone in the world, but I feel like maybe it is useful to at least have a few, because some things are not obvious for people. So there are people who, let's say a married couple, or not necessarily married, but a couple that's together. There's mosquitoes here. Maybe together for decades and feel close and together and all is well. And then one of them develops dementia or Alzheimer's or what have you, and is no longer present. And so yes, you're together. One may be taking care of another, or you may be visiting them in the nursing home or whatever. But the closeness isn't there, that connection isn't there in the same way. And you're together but alone, right? A single mother, or a mother whose partner isn't present for taking care of life and children, and hides out in the garage or hides out in bars or whatnot. There's a very obvious aloneness there. But sometimes, or what I was going to say is, sometimes the familiarity with that is so it's just so typical and common and what have you, or the person is so used to it that they wouldn't name it as aloneness. They would name it as frustration, or anger, or maybe abandonment. But what about the partner who doesn't skip out, who doesn't hang out somewhere else, but is at home abusing the other? There is a lot of togetherness, too much, right? And the person being abused may feel very alone. And for that matter, the abuser may also feel very alone and be acting out. And maybe in their home, abuse or violence or fighting was the only togetherness they had, and so they recreate that. And to them, that is a toxic mimic of togetherness, but they're still feeling alone, which is right. So I'm not condoning abuse, obviously. I'm just hoping to elucidate some of the ways that people may feel alone and then act it out. So I had to pause because there was a fly attacking me. Definitely wasn't alone and wanted to be left alone. So I wanted to say one more thing about I don't know, not treatment, or not the solution either, But the solution or the action involved in dealing with or hoping to address aloneness is not necessarily to reach out to any random person. A lot of people will do that. They will go sleep with an ex, or they will just go to a bar every day, or to not even necessarily to drink, although sometimes that's how drinking kind of gets established. But the solution isn't necessarily to just reach out to people. It's to recognize that you're alone and how you're alone, and where does that come from, and where does that leave you? Are you left craving attention or support at any cost? Or what? Right? Where does your mind go? What is it that you might be denying yourself or not letting yourself be aware of? So it goes obviously way deeper, and I'm trying to give you a little summary, or a little bit of food for thought. I had to walk away from the chair I was in because I was getting eaten by bugs. So I hope this gives you a little bit of food for thought, and I feel like I want to add more, but I'm not sure what. Oh, well, okay, so I said the solution isn't necessarily to go towards people, but sometimes it's about finding the right people and the right communities. And I work with a lot of people who are what would be called HSP, highly sensitive people. And I think that's a good thing. I think being a highly sensitive person is an amazing thing. But what happens is that very often the person feels very alone in their life because they're just expected. There's a lot of expectation. They're expected to suck it up, to do whatever, even though they can't, or even though they're overwhelmed. Or they're expected to not show a lot of feelings when they are having a lot of feelings. And for some people, it's a revelation to realize that they are actually a highly sensitive person, and that they are in touch with a lot of, not just emotion, but a lot of different kinds of energies in the world around them, and that's actually a tremendous, tremendous gift. But you don't recognize that until somebody either points it out and validates it, or you meet like-minded or like constellated people, and you get that implicit validation, like, oh, you get me. So when this happens, it happens to you too. You know, when you're in at a party, you get overwhelmed too, like me, and you want to leave, but you feel guilty because it's your party, or what have you. So I think a lot of times it is about meeting people who are connected to the world in similar ways as you. And I feel like that's actually tremendously, tremendously important. And for a lot of people who are sensitive, it's very difficult to find people like that. So, I want to leave on a helpful and a hopeful note. and maybe just naming the HSP aspect is enough. But I feel like I need to say more. For me, I find a lot of connection with plants and the garden, and I am miserable in the winter when I can't, and I try desperately to grow at home, grow things, but it's challenging. For you it might be animals. It might be lots of different things. But aloneness is a powerful force. And I don't use the word loneliness in this talk. I haven't so far. I think that you can feel quite lonely. But I wanted to use the word aloneness in this context, because like I'm walking through the garden and I'm alone, and there is aloneness, but I don't feel alone. I don't feel abandoned or unseen or anything like that. I feel joy and gratitude when I look at my budding pears or my tomato plants. And so I encourage people to find things that they are inspired by and connected to. And I feel like that is the true way to heal the aloneness, even the aloneness you felt as a child, that you may not even be aware of. You may not even know that that's how you felt as a child. I didn't know until way into my therapy, and I was like, but my mom was so present and took care of me, and you know, and then it took me a while to realize, yes, she did, but she was alone and she was doing her best, and sometimes she still missed aspects of my experience. And I am an HSP, and that brought with it a whole host of experiences where I felt alone. I felt alone on the playground very often because the kids called me fat. That's a way of feeling alone. Bullying, that kind of thing. So healing that started with naming it and understanding that that is what I experienced, and then further healing it. Well, the next sort of layer was finding people and things that I feel connected to. So I do hope that I've offered you something useful and that you enjoyed this walk through my garden with me, even though I didn't show you very much of it because it's not what the talk was about. But maybe I can just do a little pan here so you can see what I've been looking at for these past 20 minutes or so. So, thanks so much for watching, and I hope that this little video helped you feel some connection. Take care.